Good, King. Rolling back. Welcome back, gang. Welcome back. Sorry about that. We were experiencing some technical difficulties. You know what I'm saying? But as I was saying, we are joined with the legendary head coach of the Miller football program, Coach Justen Evans. And we were just beginning, luckily. You know what I'm saying? It's a great part of a great story. And we were getting into early childhood and upbringing.
Born and raised in Corpus all my life. Grew up on the west side of Corpus. Went to Moody High School. In high school, single mom, raising 3 kids by herself. So got an older sibling and a younger brother, whatever. So, Corpus is all I know. Went to church on the north side, St. Matthew Baptist Church growing up back in the day. So a lot of influential people in my life, for sure.
And what activities did a young Justen Evans, what was he into? Was it sports? Was it like?
Yeah, so what's crazy is, man, one of the most, I don't want to say it's a hidden talent, because people who really know me, know of me, but, I play the piano. So,
okay.
Yeah, I've been playing since I was 4 years old. So, almost 40 years, and so play at my church, and play at multiple churches. But yeah, that and just, and like just any other kid, grew up off of Greenwood. We'd go to the Moody Park right there and, play basketball in the park, throw the football in the park, run track races in the middle of the street and, do all this stuff that you do, ride bikes and do all this stuff. But back then, the community was a neighborhood. There's a lot of neighborhood kids over there. So, every weekend, there's always something to do.
Okay, so piano, now would you say piano is your first love or football is your first love?
Man, that's tough. I guess, piano was the first thing I ever fell in love with, so, I would say that. But, it's a close comparison for sure. I enjoy both, both kind of giving me peace. Sometimes it may not seem like that when I'm coaching, but the coaching piece is what I really enjoy, the impact you can have on kids.
And how do we get into piano? Because that's not like something that our community really stresses on us. Yeah. Usually it's like you either gonna play the drums or you gonna they want us to be the singer. So
yeah, it was it's really one of those God-given talents. I sat down. I was 4 years old. My grandpa used to have a piano at my grandma's house. I just sat down and just started playing. And I don't remember how it was sounding, but I just knew then this went on. So then my mom put my sister and I in informal lessons, excuse me. And about a year in, my sister this ain't really for me. And so I was like, yeah, this ain't really for me. My mom was like, yeah, now you stand, she can get out. So, it's just so she allowed my sister to stop playing or whatever. But, I guess parents see something in you that maybe you don't see in yourself. And so she made me stay. And I'm so thankful for her because, now, 38 years later, I've had an opportunity to really, it become a big passion of mine.
Okay. And then any concerts at the church when we were a kid? Do you
Yeah.
remember that first
Yeah.
Hey, son, it's on you today.
Yeah,
you remember that first concert?
Man, yeah. So I remember the first, and we used to growing up in St. Matthew. They'd have a certain Sunday when it was Youth Sunday, and they'd have I don't call it a talent show, but they would in church they would showcase the different talents of kids in church. So whether or not you played the violin or the trumpet or any type of horn or the piano or what have you, they would have that opportunity for you to do that on Sunday, which was really cool growing up. And then I ain't gonna lie, growing up, my grandfather, him and I were really close. And so every time I play at church, when we get back to my grandmother's house, because, growing up, that's what you did. After church, you went to 1,000 services on Sunday. So by the time it was all day. So by the time it was over, you knew you were going to go eat at grandma's house, Big Mama's house. And so, when I did, my grandfather would be like, hey, go back in the back room and get my wallet, right? And so, I go back and grab it, and he'd give me $1.
Nice.
And so, and then my mom would be like, "Don't be giving that boy no money. He don't know. He just doing that." And my big daddy yeah, what I tell you to do, give me the $1. So he slip it to me, don't say nothing, whatever. And so I knew that if I played at church, I go to grandma's house, man, $1 was coming, And so, but yeah, I mean, I'm thankful that I was able to just, thank God I was able to just to keep that talent going, and it's opened up so many doors for me outside of just being a coach.
Absolutely.
Did you play any city league football like CCYFL or anything?
Nah, man, I didn't. So what's crazy is that, like I said, for me, I wasn't able to play CCYFL just because, mom's a single parent, right? So couldn't nobody afford all them fees growing up, 3 kids. Like, that's a lot, And so my mom was in education, right? So she literally worked, she was a school teacher by day, and then she'd get off work, and she'd come home, make sure food was cooked, and then she'd go home, and then she worked. Back then, Montgomery Ward's was a store, so she'd go work at Montgomery Ward's like 11 o'clock at night, right? So we live right across the street from my grandmother, so we'd go over there, and growing up, then my grandmother kind of make sure we sleep before my mom get home, but yeah, man, so like I enjoyed playing sports, but it was kind of just the neighborhood stuff, right? I never forget the first time my mom let me play. I played City League, right? But growing up, like, I was that middle child, right? So, I was the one that my mom used to say, "You from the show me state." From Minnesota, she said, "I got to show you," So it kind of that middle child syndrome. So I always had to have the last word, and she'd say, and back then when adults told you to do something, you just did it. It wasn't the why. Well, I was inventing the why way back then. Now this day, you got to explain the why and the who and the what with these kids. But back then, you just do it. So I was always like, but why? I don't agree with it. So, I stayed in trouble more than anything, in the house. And I never forget, she signed me up for City League basketball. And, man, one of the greatest lessons I've learned in life, and I've taken it with me, is that I got in trouble, right? And my mom was like, you know what? There's going to come a point in time in life where you're going to make a decision, and the decision that you make is going to have dire consequences. I got to teach you now. You know what I'm saying? So right now, if it's basketball, I know you love basketball. Right now, I've got to take away from you what you love so that I can get you to understand. So I'll never forget, man, she paid for it, right? And so this is how she was thinking of something bigger, She paid for the deal. I played like 2 games. Back then, it was like a 10-game season. Man, she sat me down for 9 games after that, man. Like, so she was like, "No, you're not gonna play no more." And I was like, man. And so I'll never forget, on the last game of the season, that's when they played the City League games at Winsill, old Winsill. And so we happened to have, it's like the stars were aligning, right? We happened to have, my mama had we had assembly at Winsill that night, and basketball practice was in the gym. So I kind of walked over there a little bit, and I said, "Hey, Mom, let's go to the gym." She said, "All right." And she knew. I knew she knew, but I went over there, and I was out there, and I saw my teammates. And, "Hey, where you been at? You ain't been here?" And I was like, "Yeah," and so, but anyway, she ended up letting me play that last game of the season. And so that principle and that lesson I learned where there's something called restorative discipline. For me, it's like, and I even carry it today here. Kids are gonna make mistakes. They're gonna have setbacks. They're gonna have whatever. Our job is to not just bury them, but show them a better way. And so for me, like, there got to be consequences, for the actions, but give them an opportunity to, restore those actions so that they can turn around and learn from it, so that they can be, better from it.
So, what was the first, yes, we played the City League basketball, but like, what was the first organized school team that we were on?
Yeah, so I went to Winsill Middle School, and so that's the first time I actually played organized football. Was in 7th grade. And so, for me, people always ask me how I feel about the whole, youth league, travel ball, all that stuff. It's one of those really controversial subjects that I would just say this: there's a reason why the NFL has the rules they have. There's a reason why college has the rules they have. It's a reason why high school football has the rules that they have. At the end of the day, it's for the safety of the kids, right? And so, lots of times for me, some of the best coaching I got was when I got to middle school, and Floyd Williams was my coach at Winsell back in the day. Still have a great relationship with him, and so I learned more about not just being a football player, but just being a young man. And so I didn't have a ton of habits because I didn't have a ton of bad habits because I didn't have I really didn't know the game, and so yeah, that's when 7th grade is when first time I ever played organized football was in 7th grade.
And did you take to it naturally, or was it like a fish out of water?
Man, so I knew I loved the game. I just knew that I was short, chubby kid. You know what I'm saying? And in 7th and 8th grade, when I got to 9th grade, my 9th grade year I was 5'7", 185 pounds.
And how tall are you right now?
I'm 6'5". So from my freshman to sophomore year, I grew from 5'7" to 6 foot, and then over a summer, and then I grew from 6 foot to 6'2", sophomore to junior season, 6'2" to 6'4", junior to senior season, and then my senior season going to college, I was 6'5.5".
6'5.5".
And so and that's why I just have a heart for kids that develop the developmental piece, because I'm just so glad the coach didn't throw me away. The 5'7" kid, 185 pounds, couldn't run, couldn't do whatever. They didn't give up on me, and so that's why I'm just so big on you just don't never know how a kid's gonna turn out. The kid everybody think is great in youth league. You just don't know when a kid is going to develop and those genetics are going to kick in and whatever, and that kid ends up being better than the kid that's been playing the game all his life, which is just that's why as youth coaches, we need to be more. They need to be more a proponent of development rather than success. So if you turn into being more process driven than goal oriented, that's going to be the key. Because here's the deal, a lot of them going to tell them, a lot of parents going to tell them how great they are in youth league, and I'm going to tell them the truth when they get here, and lots of times they can't handle the truth that I tell them because they've been told something different their whole life. So make sure you're out there developing kids, and it's about the process, whether or not you win. And here's the other thing. Allow your kids to be on these select teams, but allow your kids to go be on a team that with the CCYFLs, and where it's not just put together stuff, because those teams don't always travel with each other when you go to high school. Now your kid may be standing next to a kid who can't even tie his shoes, but he's used to playing on a team that everybody's good. What is he going to do when he gets inside of a room when everybody's not good? And so that team disperses, right? He hadn't learned how to play against somebody, play with somebody who is, maybe not on the level that he is. So expose him to those moments to where, hey, he may not be the winner. Hey, he may not, but he's going to learn more valuable lessons in the losses than actually if all they do is win.
I like it. So what's the most memorable moment in your high school football career, like at Moody?
Man, so my junior year, I remember it. Man, that was like yesterday. So we were down. I played, and we went 2 rounds in the playoffs that year at Moody. That's back in '99, and Paul Gilmore and those guys were there. Man, Paul was so cold. Man, Paul was. Jesus. Mike, but BJ. I don't know. BJ was there. Gene Floridas. Alfonso Lopez was there that year. A lot of really good football players. And so I never forget, we were up, we were down 35-14 against Ray in the 4th quarter, and we came back and beat Ray on the last play to win 36-35. Came back off 3 touchdowns to beat them. It was the most memorable deal. They didn't give Charles Coleman the ball. If they would have gave it to him, it probably would have been different. But they didn't give him the ball. But yeah, they definitely came back and beat him that year. So I would say that was my most more memorable high school moments. We weren't great in high school. It was just, so you got to kind of pick and choose the moments that were good. But that's one of the ones that does stick out to me.
And then what position did you play?
So man, I played tight end, defensive end.
Tight end
Yeah,
at the end?
yeah. And
Okay.
so and so what's crazy is, like I tell you, the freshman year, I thought I was a quarterback. So I thought I was a 5'8", 185-pound quarterback, man, short, stubby, whatever like that. I couldn't throw the ball from here to 5 yards, man. So.
And that's crazy because like how detailed your offense is.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would think like your stature and like how you run your offense that you had some background in quarterback.
If you look at, and this isn't a knock to people that were really good in the game. Like there was, but sometimes the people who had the most success playing, it doesn't translate to being good coaches. And the reason why it doesn't is because your expectation goes into that person should be like me or how I was, right? So it's hard for somebody to teach somebody with a lesser skill when they've always been great. For somebody who just wasn't great at the game, you learn the game from an intellectual standpoint, right? You learn about creases and how to sit in windows and how to do all this stuff. And so you learn it from an analytical standpoint. And so that when lots of times when you're coaching against guys and they say, oh man, this guy played, yada, yada, he played in the NFL. And he played, I mean, some of your greatest offensive minds were just decent football players in college. I mean, Lincoln Riley was decent. He wasn't great, but, hell of a play caller. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan,
Andy
those guys.
Reid.
Yeah, Andy Reid. Like, them dudes were, but you learn the game from an intellectual mindset, and so, yeah, I just learned the game, and I'm just a sponge, man. Like, I breathe football, and so my time is, my wife always gets on me because she'll say, like, hey, that game ain't live. But I literally, YouTube is my best friend. Like, I will watch every game from 2024, every team from last year. I've watched every game. And then once I've done with that, then I will go watch games from like 1967, Texas versus Oklahoma.
I do that
Man,
all
if
the time.
I can go find one play out of there. Because guess what? Nobody's preparing for that. So when I throw that little wrinkle in there in the game, they go, where'd that came from? Man, I got that from 1975. Because nobody's not preparing for it. Because in the days now, everybody's running the same stuff. It's very much copycat. They see something on TV, coaches are drawing up. Nobody's really not going to go tap into the old school type of football. So then now you gain an advantage because we have this new genre of an offense, but then I go get the other stuff, power smash football, once we physical and stuff. So.
Definite, man. So what was post high school like? Like, where do we go to college at?
Yeah, so went to Southern Arkansas University, played college football.
Yeah, Southern Arkansas?
Yeah, Southern Arkansas.
Nice.
Yeah, went there, and man, I would tell people this all the time, man. College football ain't for everybody. It's really not. It's a job, and so I always tell our kids, you got to know what you're getting yourself into. I know everybody always says, Miller puts all these kids in college, whatever like that. But the process that we put our kids through in high school to make sure they're prepared for it, is what's key. Now, when you get there, we tell them everybody's good when you get there. Like, there are no bad football players in college. Everybody's there for a reason. So you got to go there and you got to compete. You got to be focused. You got to do all that stuff. And lots of times, so many kids don't get that piece of it, right? Because they don't have the discipline to go there and do what they're supposed to do. Because now you're, 5 a.m. weights, 6 o'clock breakfast, 7 o'clock meetings, 8 o'clock classes till 1 o'clock lunch. Come back. Now you got more meetings at 2 o'clock. Practice on the field by 4. All right, dinner at 5:36. Study table at 7:30. Lights out by 10. So that's your job, right? And it ain't for everybody, man. And so for me, I'd spent so much time in high school, playing, and I enjoyed it. But man, I didn't have fun playing college football. Like I didn't. Like it was just like this is a job. And then now you're a freshman, so you're on the bottom of the totem pole. And so the guys, two of the guys, one of the guys in front of me, name is Kenny Petway. He played for the Tennessee Titans. That dude was cold. You know what I'm saying? And the New Orleans Saints. And then so like when you get there, it's just a different world. So I was like, man, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. So stopped playing ball. And then, but I'm a CJ major, so I knew that criminal justice was the route to go. So knew that I wanted to go that route, and so that's what I did. Went to CJ, major, finished up degree, and became a cop here in Corpus. So yeah, and so that's where that went.
Okay. So we're at Southern Arkansas. We're a criminal justice major. We say, all right, I'm done taking these hits. I'm done with these weights. I'm done. I'm gonna be a cop. We are a long way from enforcing the law. So, I mean, we're enforcing the law on the gridiron, but
for sure.
So how do we?
Yeah, it was tough, man. So especially being a cop here in Corpus, it was tough, man, because you're eventually gonna run into somebody. You're gonna arrest somebody that you went to school with, family members. That's weird. Like it was it was
Corpus
crazy.
ain't that big.
It's not big. Like people think it's big, man. It's not big at all, man. So now you pulling up to places and the person done wrong. You man, I gotta enforce the law. So you create a lot of enemies, and to me, that's not what I want to do. For me, I'm more keen on just I'm from Corpus. I want to. So that wasn't. That was the downside of the job, of just being here in Corpus. I think that had I been, outside of Corpus and maybe doing it, you don't really know people, and so you can just kind of do your job, and to be authentic, then yeah. But here, man, it's just tough. Everybody want to break. Everybody want to it was
man,
crazy.
I was only doing 75 and a 30, man. Give me a warning.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But yeah, man. So then my path takes me. Totally. And I'll say this, man. Lots of times in life, man, if God don't move us, we won't move. You know what I'm saying? We'll continue down a path that, He really doesn't have for us. So sometimes we don't have the vision or the wisdom to move out of what it is He has for us. So He has to remove us from the situations and get us to where we need to be at. And it just all came back full circle, and it worked my way up from as an assistant coach at Taft, coaching high school football.
So how do we pause real quick. How do we when do we say, okay, I want to coach though? We knew we wanted to do something different.
I'm guessing you're doing active duty because somebody in the comments said making us leave from the Whataburger parking lot after the club.
No doubt. Yeah, man. No doubt. Yeah, it was, and I'll tell you what, man, met a lot of great people. I mean, the people who knew, you know what I'm saying?
They respected that.
Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm just trying to get to the 15th and the 30th like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people just man, here's what I would say. Being a police officer is what I did. It wasn't who I was. You know what I'm saying? And I think people have a hard time differentiating between, just like with him, coaching football is what I do. It's not who I am, and stuff. It's just so many other things. And so, so doing that. And so one day, Lord just, spoke to me, heavily. It's like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. After a while, hopping fences at 2 o'clock in the morning and chasing people, doing all this stuff, that just gets old quick, man. Having to go be at a store, you know what I'm saying? You got to have a concealed weapon on you because you don't know. Man, I kid you not, man. There was one time, I cannot make this up. I can talk about it now. Man, I arrested a cat. I don't even know who the dude was. I arrested him at the beginning of my shift. I used to work night shifts, so we worked 4/10s. And so I go in at 9, get off at 7. And I never forget, I arrested a dude at 10 o'clock. Man, I went to go take my lunch at 5:30 in the morning at Denny's. That dude walked inside of the place. I said, man, I'm sitting over there eating. I said, God, I just seen you. I just seen you, man.
Clip this story.
Man, I just seen you.
That's funny.
I promise you, man, on everything I love, I arrested a dude. I took him to jail. I did all this long paperwork. And dog, at 5:30, I'm going to go eat. And I'll never forget the Denny's off of 37 over here, Navigation. Yeah, man, I'm over there eating because I work North Side, and man, I'm sitting out eating. The dude walked in, looked at me and smiled. I said, God, dog, man. I said, man, ain't this crazy? And I got tons of stories, man. But that day, I was like, man, you know what?
I'm done.
I'm done, man. This is crazy. But yeah. So, but back then, when you're degreed but you don't have certification, you know, you're a paraprofessional. You know what I'm saying? Until you go through the alternative certification program. Because I didn't go to school to be this.
Yeah,
you know? I knew that, so I had to pivot, right? So I'll never forget. You know, it's in 2007. A guy named Pico Hardo was head football coach at Taft, and so knew him. My buddy Robbie Moreno, he just retired from London as the AD over there, and so that I'd hooped with them, you know, intramural stuff, like we were close, and so I forget, he gave me a job, and he says, hey, come in here, you can do DAEP. They, you know, former cop, they think like, oh yeah, man, he's gonna be perfect for this job, man. Just all the alternative kids, just put them in there. You can coach football. And so, yes. So but man, it was even in those moments, man. Like you make a lot of impact with those kids, man. You're trying to. I'm fresh off being a cop, so like you're going to be able to meet them where they are, and, you know, be able to give them valuable tools so that they don't go down that road. But yeah, man. So I started, and I just worked my way up. I've always been a grinder, right? You know, there's moments in my life that, you know, and that's why I coach without no fear, man. People always ask me, man, why do you go for it on fourth down? Why do you go do all this all the time? Like, everybody want to talk about fourth down. Like, why do you do that?
They be always
they be on me about fourth down, right? Well, my thing is this, man. If they didn't want you to have 4 downs, why did they give it to you? Thanks. You know, lots of times we get to third down, and I want our kids to know, have confidence that, man, they gave us 4 downs for a reason. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna go have the confidence to go get these. And here's the deal: our percentage of conversions on fourth down is really better than what people think. They just think about the one that you don't make, right? But the reason why I say I coach like that, because I've had so many moments in my life where, you know, things haven't gone my way. You know, I've made some mistakes. You know, had some setbacks, whatever like that. Been down to your lowest that you can ever be. And in those moments, God has picked you up, dusted you off, and gave you another opportunity. So, like, in that situation, like, why am I coaching with fear? Like, what do I have to lose? Roll the dice and let's go. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, then I did what I felt was best, and you keep rolling. So, went to Taft, worked my way as a paraprofessional. I was coaching receivers, and then did a good job. Ended up meeting a guy. We were playing a team, Santa Gratuitous back then, they're in Kingsville, and I'll never forget, we played a team, and the head coach there, we were, before the game, I just went out there, because I always want to show myself friendly, so I go over there and talk to people. And so I was talking to them, you know, and I kind of knew what the result was going to be from the game. They were a new program, they hadn't won a game, so we beat them 64-0. But, you know, I never forget, I went to the guy after the game and said, hey, man, great job, man, just keep rolling. It's going to get better for you. It's going to get better, you know, really encouraging. So we kind of hit it off, made a connection. Well, that next year, their offensive coordinator job came open, right? And so I applied for it. And everybody said, are you crazy? Like, this program ain't won a game in the history of the program. Like, what are you doing? They've never won a game. In 5 years, they've had a team, they've gone 0-50. I said, man, here's the deal. I was like, you know, I've always said, a foot on the boat, foot on the dock, get you nothing but a wet ass. Sometimes you got to get inside of that, jump 2 feet in, you know what I'm saying? And if you really believe in yourself, you got to bet on yourself. I said, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I got my faith in God just going to tell me, hey, you know, once again, I've always been there for you in your lowest moments. You got to trust me. And so, man, I went to Santa Gratuitous, and our first game there, we won the first game in the history of the school, my first day. It was crazy.
What was the final score?
2010. We won 22-21 in Agua Dulce. I'll never forget. And it's really where I met my DC, man, because loyalty is a big piece to me. EJ,
I love EJ, man.
EJ was in college. He had just finished playing ball. EJ came over there, and he was finishing up school. He had ran out of eligibility, but he still had a little bit more school to do. So he was like actually getting paid like a stipend to come over there and coach with us, whatever like that. But it was 2010 where we became brothers. And from there, I stayed there 3 years. Like just with anything, if you don't win, coach gets fired, coordinator's gone, right? So we did. First year we won 1 game. Second year we won 4 games. And the third year, it went back to 3, had some injuries, so they said, hey, they want to make a change. And so I never forget, EJ stayed. And EJ stayed, and I told him, I said, hey, man, I promise you, I'll never forget. Like, because we had, like, so many talks inside when I was teaching over there and all that, and I used to tell him, I said, hey, man, if I ever make it out of here, if I ever get my shot, I said, you're going to be the first call I make. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to help change his life. And so I come back to Corpus. I was a middle school coordinator at Caffey for 4 months. And built a relationship with head coach Heseltine. He was at King back in the day. And I just worked my ass off, right? Since that's all I knew how to do is just go in there and work. I was middle school coordinator, wasn't getting paid. I was going coaching on Friday nights, helping coach for Friday nights, taking my days when they had to go out of town, and just going up there on their Saturday, breaking down film with the high school coaches. Just knew, they said, you know what, if I got, that's all I know is how to do is grind. That year, they went 2-7, and the OC ended up leaving. And so, because of that work ethic, he hired me as the OC. Had an opportunity to coach the superintendent's son that year, so built a relationship with him, and became like a son of superintendent. And so that year we had, so in 2000, by then now we're at 2015, 14-15, I take off as offensive coordinator. Our offense goes for 7,000 yards that year. We went.
That's insane.
And on that squad.
And this is at where?
It's at King High School.
So you had King High School
2014.
producing 7,000 yards.
That was your first year?
Yeah, first year was offensive
2015?
coordinator. 2015. Season 2014 was the season.
All right.
And so that year I had TP. Tristan Price was there. Rayshawn Williams, Holsey, all them guys were there. Spencer Manuel was the quarterback, all them guys. And so we lit Jasper Stafford, all them cats were on that team, but they were young. So that first year we went 7-4, got bounced in the first round because we were playing. So mind you, the year before I took over OC, they were 2-7, didn't make the playoffs. The year I took over, 7-4, over 7,000 yards total offense of the season, and we lost in the first round. The next year, we go 9-2, 9,000 yards on the season.
This is at King?
Yeah, it's at King High School. Back in, yeah, it's King High School.
The Greater White School?
Man, Google it. Google it. Yeah, so 2014, 2015, I was there 2 years. 7,000 first year, 9,000 the second year. And then the Alice job came open.
And this is around the time I started hearing about your
Yeah.
name.
So 2016, the Alice job comes open. Once again, bet on myself, right? And favor of God, I always tell this story. Like, I went and interviewed for it. I wasn't one of the final three. I wasn't. Like, I felt like I killed it, but I wasn't. I'll never forget when they named the final three. So we interviewed like Wednesday and Thursday. On that Friday, they had they called back the three people that they were going to give the three finalists. They were going to do like a meet and greet and come meet or whatever, and they're going to make a decision on Monday. I wasn't one of the three that was called. So like, I'm like, dang, man, well, I said, man, learn to be where my feet are. I'm just going to go back to King and continue to, because I knew we were going to be good again next year. So just, hey, it wasn't meant to be. I never forget, man. I go to school on that Monday. I'm in the athletic period, coaching my tail off, because I never stopped coaching. Coaching my tail off, and I go home, and I remember I was watching a 1975 Oklahoma versus UT football game. And I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, man, because I know, like, I was like, man, I'm not going to turn on the news, like, because I'm not going to watch this. Like, man, I just can't, like, I don't want to watch the news. I don't see who they're going to name. All of a sudden, man, like, it's like 6:30. I get a phone call, and I see an Alice number come up. And I'm like, man, I'm not answering. I'm tired of these folks. Like, you know what I'm saying? They put me through all this, man. No, but I said, somebody just told me to answer it. Man, I answered the phone, and the superintendent she says, Coach Evans, this is the superintendent from Alice High School. We're in executive session right now. We don't know what happened, but you're the guy that we want. So so mind you, and I can't make it up. I'm like, it's like, will you accept the job? I was like, wait, what's happening? Like, she says, Coach Evans, do you remember this morning when you sent me an email and you were just thanking me for an opportunity? She says, you sent an email this morning and said, thank you for the opportunity to listen to me. She says, from that moment on, she says, I knew that you were the right person for this job. So 3 of the people, and I hate to say it, they were at the board meeting. So it is whatever, I mean, they're at the board meeting and they come out, and so I accepted a job over the phone. So I wasn't even at the board meeting.
So they're in the meeting,
Man, it's a cold world.
shaking hands, kissing babies. Like, which one of us is gonna get this contract?
One of us sitting there getting the contract.
Meanwhile, the boss lady's like
with the board,
Coach Evans,
inside of the executive session, like say, hey, you the guy. So when they come out, the news is there, right? So they said, I said, listen, I said I need about 10 minutes. I need y'all to give me 10 minutes. I'm accepting this job. I say, but I ain't talked to nobody. So think about it. My superintendent don't know I'm fixing to leave. My head coach don't know I'm fixing to leave. And
you're
I'm on the phone. I'm in my living room, dog.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in my living room. So I kid you not, I'm in my living room, man. It's crazy. I said, give me 10 minutes. I said, because I cannot, because you know, social media, soon as you say it, it's out there.
Yeah.
And I didn't want my people to find out social media. So I'll never forget, I called Coach Heseltine. I said, hey, Coach Heseltine. He answered the phone. He said, what's going on, Coach? Everything okay? I say, Coach, you're not going to believe this. I said, man, I just accepted a head job at Alice. He says, what? He's like, well, how the hell did that happen? He said, I thought you weren't one of the 3. I said, Coach, I don't know. They just called me. I said, I thought they was playing. I thought I was getting pranked. I said, but nah, they offered it to me. I said, I accepted. He was like, you're serious? I said, man, I'm serious. So I made the call to him. I made the call to Brenda, my AD, and I made the call to the suit. And, you know, from then, and I'll never forget, took the job, and my suit took me to lunch and said, hey, go over there and do some great things. But Corpus is always going to be home. We're going to come back and get you. And so went over there to Alice, first year, went 7-3 our first year over there, missed the playoffs by 2 points. We started off 4-0 that year, and so I mean it was exciting, you know, great games when we finished, like I said, finished 7-3, and I was good. Like, man, I said, man, this is a great place.
You were the AD.
I was the AD. I was the AD head football coach. And 1 year, and I'll never forget, February, the Miller job came open, and I'm gonna be transparent. Like, when I got the call about it, like, hey, you interested? Like, hell no. Like, no.
Like, I got it written down right here. You were, what'd you say your record was at Alice?
7-3.
7-3, missed the playoffs by 2 points, right? And this was 2016, right?
2016, yeah.
That exact same year, because I was like, that was going to be my next set of questions, right? In 2016, Miller was 1-9. So this job opened, you just missed the playoffs by 2 points.
Yeah.
A 1-9 program is calling.
Yeah. So, man, here's the deal. From Corpus, right? And so, you know, I was still living in Corpus. I was driving Alice, and every day, you know what I'm saying? And I love those. I will say this: Alice was really good to me. I didn't leave Alice for any other reason, but I got an opportunity to come back home and a $30,000 pay. Right? That's the line,
That don't hurt.
Hey, man, come back home. You know, but more than anything, I told CSASD no multiple times. Like, I said no. I was like, I'm not leaving. I'm comfortable. Alice is a great setup. Football town. They love their football over there. 6 practice football fields over there. Film room is a theater. I mean, office is plus. I still think the couch in my office over there, it's like they went out there and shot the animal itself and stripped him. And that thing was so comfortable. I had a secretary, man. She would make sure my game day stuff, like it was amazing. Like, you're the kind of celebrity over this, coach. And so, but God just wouldn't let me go. I never forget, man. 2:00 in the morning, like, and I always feel like, you know, the most time that God speaks to me is in the still hours of the night for me. And so, like, I was literally. And so I kept saying no. But just they kept telling me, listen, it's a diamond in the rough. You can go in there and you can get it turned around. You can do it. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Like, I had just played Miller that year at Alice. Like, the game was over by halftime.
So you did to Miller what Miller does to people.
Yes, like it was a blowout. Like, it was a blowout. And so, yeah, but still. And so they said, and then asked me, okay, what is it going to take to get you here? And so I gave them a figure number. And I get, man, listen.
So you were the top candidate on the list.
Yes. Yeah, I was top candidate, right? And so they said, what is it going to take to get you here? I said, I said, I need this price. I ain't going to tell you what that price is, but they gave it to me. You know, I need this price. I said, and I got to be able to come in and rearrange the culture of the program. And if that means coaches, if that means program, like I got to be able to do it. Because I mean, there's like, because I will say this, losing's not always on the kids.
Nope, absolutely not.
You know what I'm saying? What does the culture of your program look like? And I always say, culture's not just changing a sign on the door. Culture is changing, you know, a mindset, how you go about your business, how you go, and so and how you transition from being coach fed to player led. You know what I'm saying? That's when you know your culture's changing. I tell our kids all the time, you know, culture doesn't change when a coach tells you you're wrong. It changes when a player tells another player that's not how we do things around here. So when you transition to that, that's when you know your culture. So anyway, get to Miller High School, man. So I took the job, never forget, took it on a Friday, and back then I was reffing basketball. So like I literally was on my way to Huntsville to go call the regional basketball game with Silsby and all them, because I was still coaching, reffing basketball. So I took the job, man. So, man, listen, okay, here we go. Now, I knew there were athletes at Miller. I didn't know where they were at, but I knew they were here, right? But what I played against, I just knew, man. So anyway, I'll never forget. So when they set you, how they do it is here, man, is like when you accept a job here, man, you don't get to see what's behind door number one, so to speak. So think about this, like at the end of the day, but if you did, lots of times people wouldn't step out on faith if they knew what was on the other side of the door. True faith is I don't know what's on the other side of the door, but I'm gonna step through the door and then whatever. So they take you down. I went downtown, I signed all my paperwork. They said, all right, you done, signed my contract on that Monday. All right, you can go to Miller High School. Dog, listen, man, I showed up here. All right, where's the weight room at? They take me to the weight room. We supposed to be in off season. I'm not just March. All right, we're in off season. Man, I go in the weight room. Man, there's 23 kids in there. I said, nah, I said, wait a minute, what? I said, man, what was, it's 23 kids. In the weight room, there are 4 benches, 4 old school inclines, and 4 platforms to power clean in an old band hall with a TV from 1935 in there. Like, and I'm thinking like,
wondering
what the
why
hell?
we can't compete.
Yeah, and I had left a place that 20 racks in there.
Bruh.
You know, like I'm just like,
Bruh,
what?
Did Alice have their indoor practice facility?
Not then, but I knew all that was coming, man.
That's why you want to go, bro.
I said, dog. I said, so I went in there, man. I said, all right, 23. So I'm trying to do the math. Math ain't mathing, man. I'm like 23. God dang, man. I said, so that was doing 4th period. So I knew 7th period was coming. I said, man, all right. So I've had the 23. So now I'm trying to be the opposite. I said, we in the park. Like, ain't no turning around. Like, it's like, said, we in the car.
Excuse me if I'm wrong, but 4th period would be like the upper class.
Yeah,
that's the varsity. That's your
23
varsity
kids in there.
It's literally all freshmen.
All freshmen.
So let that sink in. And then to field, like, let's say.
So you're anticipating this 7th period class to come and see.
I don't know what's in there, but I'm like, it got to be more than 23.
Bro, let's put it this way. He had enough varsity players in that athletic period to form an offense, an offense and defense, and have 2 backups.
Yeah. So here's the deal. And I left the Alice program. We had 160 kids in the program. So I get here, there's 23 soaking wet in there, man. And I said, all right, the kids got to be in the 7th period, right? So I go to lunch. I come back. I get to 7th period. It's 11. I said, wait a minute. You mean to tell me there's 34 kids in this program? Where are all the dang kids at? And I said, God dang. So anyway, what were you gonna ask me?
No, what did that varsity room look like? What did the athletes look like? Were they like?
Nah, man. I said so. True story, man. I went home that night, and this is not to knock anything, right? Because I'm not talking about a kid in this situation. I'm just talking about culture, right? So I never forget. I go home that night, and immediately, EJ called me. So
that was gonna be my next question.
So EJ's still in Alice, right? Mm-hmm. So EJ wasn't here yet. EJ said, say, bro, how'd it go today? I said, dawg. I said, man, there was 23 kids in 4th period and 11 kids in 7th period. He said, dawg. He said, I had 100 kids at 6 a.m. weights here in Alice. He says, man, what we doing, bro? I said, I don't know. He said, well, what you gonna do, man? And my exact words to him, I said, I don't know. I said, but if we don't do something, we gonna go 0-40, and they gonna fire my ass here in 4 years. I said, we gotta do something. He says, dawg, He says, well, you think it, I said, man, I'm thinking about calling the superintendent back over at Alice. They'd be like, say, dog, I made a mistake. I want to come back. I want to come back, man. I said,
we're not in Kansas anymore.
I said, man, I want to come back. And I said, EJ's like, fam, they'll take you back. He said, fam, I'm looking in the room. 10 out of 11 of my starters on defense back next year. And they all squatting 400. Like, I said, man, let me pray about it, man. So I went to bed. I'll never forget, I went to bed. 2 o'clock in the morning, remember I told you about that? Man, that's when God speaks to me. I wake up, and I'm like, wakes me up in the middle of the night. And this moment was the moment that changed the trajectory of Miller High School. And I tell this story everywhere I go. When I go speak at different places about culture, because I'll do a lot of speaks about how to turn around programs. And something told me, take your basketball shoes to work the next day. So I got up that morning.
You pulled it Adam Sandler.
So I pulled up. I got my basketball shoes. I went to work. Fourth period the next day, I did not go back to the weight room. That was depressing, right? I said, "Nah, they're gonna be what they're gonna be." Never forget, I went to the basketball gym.
I knew it. You pulled Adam Sandler.
When I went to the gym, I never forget, to this day, I tell the story, Justen Watson, Cole, back in the day, Justen, football player, Roberts' dad, Storm, like they come, the Watsons are ballers. They are ballers. Like, Robert Watson just breathed athletes, right, in Corpus. Like, so Justen's about 6'4", I seen him play linebacker of the year. Man, I walk in the gym, and it was like one of those movie aha moments. You come in there, you see 6'4", 6'3", 6 foot, 6'2". I said, first of all, why are these kids still in basketball in March? Why ain't they in the weight room? They want to go play. And so I never forget, like, it was like Malik Sanders, still cold. Xavier Calandra, them cats are cold. Justen Watson, all them were there. And so I put my shoes on. I told Bastion, I said, Bastion, I want to play with the kids today. I said, Justice, I said, here's the deal, Justice. So I'm going to make you a deal. You pick your 4, and you pick my 4. Now, back then I could hoop. Like, I could still get out there and play. I still can play above the rim. Now I'm too old, all that. But I said, you pick my 4, and you pick your 4. I said, and we play. I said, if we beat you, y'all got to come to football tomorrow. And I said, so he picked Leak, Glandred, all these trees. The squad. Man, I went over there. I got a little 5'6" here, 5 out. Like I said, man, dudes I don't even know why they're in basketball class, but man, they were in there, the rejects. I told them, I huddled them up. I said, listen, dog, none of y'all shoot the ball. Like, pass me the ball every single time. We're going to do this. Dog, when I tell you, man, we beat them. The next day, 25 of those dudes showed up to the weight room, and that's when here's the point. I met them where they were at. For what reason would they have to trust this dude they didn't know? Like, I was just another coach coming here, success can breed, losing breeds a losing mindset, right? The same thing's gonna happen. So, but when I went in there in their space and I met them where they were at, next day they showed up. And so people always talk about, how did the turnaround happen? Man, the 6'4" and 6'3" dudes came out there to play football, And with our system, throw that ball up and let them go play basketball out there, So we tailored what we did for their strengths. And so that's
a point where, like, you were seeing kids in the hallway, like, hey, why ain't you
so
playing football?
So that's what we did. So then we hit the hallways.
Oh, really?
And so we started recruiting the hallways.
Oh, really?
You know what I'm saying? We recruited the hallways. And then organically, what was happening is, back in 2017, you had the Ray Bucks, you had the Vets Bucks, you had the King Bucks, the Carroll Bucks, and the Moody Bucks. You didn't have the Miller Bucks. So all the Miller kids were spread out all over the city.
Yeah.
You just brought them back up.
They came home. Came back to their home school where they should have been at anyway.
Yep.
So I never forget, we play, at first game of the season, we played Carroll. Had a lot of momentum, put the kids out there on social media. And that year, 2017, we beat Carroll in triple overtime. That game.
Yep.
And our biggest thing, EJ and I said, we've got to win this game, because if we win this game, then everything we've said in the offseason, everything we've said over the summer is true. If we don't win this game, then they're going to believe new coach, same results, we going back to the gym. Because that's where our level of comfort, that's where they have the success at.
How did you get EJ out of Alice? Because from that original phone call, it don't sound like he was too keen on wanting to come over here.
I never forget what EJ told me. EJ told me, he said he's sitting in my office. When I first told him I was coming to Miller, he looked at me, he said, "Dog, man, I got 10 dudes and like we loaded." Like, I said, "Fam, you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "Yeah, man." I said, "I just feel like the Lord's calling me there, man. I think it's, I'm gonna listen to his voice." I never forget, so profound this day. I get goosebumps when I think about what he said. He sat there in EJ fashion, dog. He slumped down, like, had his hoodie on. He really hot at me right now, you know what I'm saying? But he like, "Well, fam, I don't really know none of these people over here anyway." He says, he says, "When the car's moving, just let me know," he says, "and I'm riding passenger." He said, "When the car's gone, we pulling off."
And that's a real one because, like, not only, like, because what could have happened was he could have been, like, selfish in that moment and been like, "You're leaving."
Because they wanted him to stay.
Yeah, like, hey, you're leaving. I could either definitely be the DC here, but I can potentially be the head coach here. Like, everything that you're walking away from, I could potentially become. Like, for him to be like, "Nah, I'm riding with my dog." Like, that's a cool situation. Like, and you can see that. Like, because I like to watch coaches when I'm in the stands, right? I love your coaching style because, like, a lot of coaches, like, whether they're up or down, like, whether you're up by 20 or you're down by 20, like, you're always preaching perfection, right? And it's just, like, a cool balance to see between you and EJ because, like, I've seen EJ have his hype moments, but he seems to be more of, like, the calm voice of reason sometimes.
Yeah, EJ is, man. First of all, man, that's my brother. Like, he is like when I say we are tight, like, that's family to me. You as a head coach, man, you gotta have people in your corner that you trust, right? And I told my coach this other day when I met him, I said, you can't have Judas on your staff. You can't have people that are trying to betray you. You can't have dudes that are, trying to cut holes in the boat while you're trying to, because then we all gonna swim. You know what I'm saying? And so, at the end of the day, EJ's a type man, he's a rider. You know what I'm saying? And so his deal is his outside of just being a great DC man, he's a developer of men. You know what I'm saying? So his ability to get, when we started off a kid in the off season and to see that with kids now, everybody always wonders how Miller has just been able to just be consistent the last 8 years. Because nobody develops like I believe like we develop in the off season. We're gonna take you, like, in our mind, you're gonna go to hell. We gonna find out what you're gonna do when you get there. But then when we bring you out, you know what I'm saying, out of it, and you come out of it, then the game is so much easier.
Absolutely. And then we got a couple more before we get out of here. So first season we ended up going 4-6, right?
Yeah.
So the year you took over a 1-9 program.
Yeah.
So we went 4-6. I just got the first 5 years because, like, it's just incredible, man. Like, so in 2016, Miller was 1-9, 1-6 in district, right? Your first year, we're 4-6. 2018, you're 6-5. 2019 was a special year where we went 12-1, 8-0 in district, and then 2020, you ended up 9-5.
And
right?
played in the regional finals.
And played in the regional finals.
Yeah, one game away from state against LBJ. Matter of fact, that year,
those one games I want to ask you about.
Yeah. It's, about the LBJ game.
Yeah. But before we get into that one, I want to ask you about the 2018. I think you know where I'm going with this.
2019 Thanksgiving game.
You and Vets.
Yeah, man.
And y'all open, and I don't know if y'all know this about out there, y'all do open the season up against Vets this year. I am going to be at that game.
No doubt, come through. Man, so that year we had beat them in regular season. It's hard to beat a team twice.
Yep, absolutely.
And so, because really, when you get there are no secrets, man. Like, you've played, because really, you're trying to win a district championship, so lots of times you're going to throw everything to the wall and see what sticks in there. So nobody really tries to save when you're trying to early because, you got to live in the moment now. Well, there wasn't a lot of secrets, man. I remember that game. The game was sold out that Monday of the week leading to the game. It was day after Thanksgiving, I'll never forget. They ended up having like 30 tickets left over or something like that. People like camped out since 3 o'clock in the morning on that Saturday morning just to get the last remaining tickets, man. I remember when I got there that morning, because it's a 2 o'clock game, when I walked inside of the stadium, just the feel of it, man, was just incredible. I mean, and then like pregame, the stands were packed at pregame. Mm-hmm. It was so loud in there, man. I was talking like this, and it sounded like I was like no sound was coming out. One of the best games to this day that's ever come out of Corpus, man. It was just that.
I looked at the palms during that game. All you heard was.
It was tough, and to feel that impact in here, man. And we made some mistakes early, rebounded from them, but that's a good football team, man. There, and it was. You hate to be the loser on it, but we gave South Texas their money's worth, right? And, and so that's what it was about. So yeah, I mean, we ended up losing. We dropped the ball on the last play of the game, to tie it, because I was going for 2.
Yeah. We all knew you.
Yeah, I was going for 2. Like I said,
because going back to how you were talking about going for it on 4th down, another thing I think is really cool about your program is on 4th and 5 or shorter, the fact that the only person that looks to your sideline in those situations is your quarterback. Yeah. The fact that the entire DNA of that offense is, no, coach, we going for this. You better give us a play.
Because here's the deal, your players got to have a belief in you. I always tell coaches, don't expect for your players to make a play on 4th down when you never put them in those situations. Everybody wants them to make a play on 4th down when you have to do it. This is just our DNA. This is what we do. So the kids never feel like on 4th down, that's just another. 4th down is 1st down to us. So we treat it as such.
Absolutely. And then a couple more, and then take us through that LBJ game, man.
Man, listen, this is one thing I've tried to get people to understand, man. There's levels to this. There really is. South Texas has a really good brand of football, and this is not to knock South Texas, right? Because I'm a product of South Texas, and I want us to continue to grow it. But I want people to understand that north of South Texas, there's a different type of ball played, right? There's a different type of athlete, right? LBJ, I'll never forget, that team had Makuba, who was the corner, Andrew Makuba.
Who was in Philadelphia right now.
Just got drafted. Yeah,
Go Clemson.
Went to Clemson.
Go Birds.
Yeah, went to Clemson, started as a true All-American as a true freshman. Makuba was playing corner for them. Latrell McCutcheon was playing the other corner. He went to Oklahoma. He was the one, Lonnie was cooking him at the beginning of the game. Lonnie cooked him. The quarterback went to TSU. The running back is the running back that's at Vanderbilt right now, number 28. The running back, what's his name? I forget his name. Yeah, he's a running back. Anyway, the running back is at Vanderbilt. The linebacker was going to Princeton. The inside linebacker was going to Rice. The other running back was going to West Texas. It was like a squad full of them. And we lost that game 59-54, and we turned over the ball 4 times. And so through that relationship, Jamal Finner, who's the head football coach for them at the time, me and him are tight now. That's my dog. We like family. And now he's the director of high school relations at UT. So that game kind of put us both, because he ended up going to the semis that year after they played us. Lost in the semis, but then the next year he ended up going to go play for a state championship, and he lost, and then his career just kind of took off. So yeah, that LBJ, I'll never forget. We were kicker short and a running back short going in that game. We still only lost by 5.
Incredible, man. So, in your coaching career, what's the one game where you feel like that one definitely got away?
Yeah, Brownsville.
Brownsville?
That was Vets 2 years ago. So I'll tell this story, man, real quick, because I know we got to go. We're playing Brownsville in the 4th round. So what ended up happening is that I didn't think we were going to play Brownsville. This is how I know. The preparation and the process has to still be the same. It doesn't matter who the opponent is, right? And so we had been preparing a whole year for PSJ North. A whole year, because remember they popped us in the 2nd round here. So yeah, so there was some dogs. There was some dogs, right? So Kelly,
real quick, just to show you how important that game was for y'all, it was just as important for PSJ because throughout the season, this was when PSJ had finally started commenting on my videos, and they were like, "We want Miller, we want Miller, we want Miller."
So what ended up happening was, so that year we lost to PSJ in the 2nd round. we exposed some things from vets ends up popping them in the 4th round and then going to the semis to play College Station. But anyway, the next year, so we spent a year working on belly, working on trap, working on, all, ISO, doing all that stuff for PSJ and North. Well, Brownsville Vets upsets Vets in the 2nd round, CC Vets. We pop Edinburgh Vela in the 2nd round. So we knew that the next round, I was going to have Victoria West, and then they were going to have Brownsville Vets, and all roads were going to lead to us playing the regional final. And so we started work. We had already been work. We knew this is how we're going to play PSJ North. Brownsville upsets PSJ North in the 3rd round. We have the thriller game here against West, where Trevor threw the mesh concept to Corey in the back of the end zone. And so we come, I never forget, they were playing at 6, we were playing at 7 on that day. And I never forget, like literally when we came off the field, it was like, they said, I never forget what my coach said, PSJ North lost. I said, are you serious? He was like, yeah, they lost. Dog. Now, so we hadn't worked the triple option at all. So think about that. Triple option is like, we had prepared for the other thing. And so I knew that I was already gonna go play PSJ North. We had to go down there because UIL rule says if you flip home and home and you win the flip, the next year if you play the same opponent in the playoffs, you have to return the favor. So we knew we were going down the valley, so our kids were ready for PSJ North. But it was Brownsville Vets. And so we lost Damari last season game against Carroll. Lost, who was it the first round? We lost Anthony Moore, my safety's first game. Lost my starting guard against Edinburgh Valley the 2nd game. So now we're the walking wounded. We got out of West, and then we lost my starting safety in the 2nd quarter against Brownsville Vets. We lost him in the same quarter, starting safety, that I lost Corey Holmes this past year in the 2nd quarter in the regional finals. Like, it's like deja vu type of stuff.
That's
so
wild.
Back to how it got away from us. I'll never forget. And I got one better for you, man. So we had already flipped. So how it works in here is like you flip a week out before, and so you got to set the sight. So like we were in the 4th round, but we had already flipped with Smithson Valley, and I forget who Smithson Valley was playing, College Station, right? And so I won the flip with Smithson Valley, home and home. I was going to play Smithson Valley in the state semis here at Buck Stadium to go play for a state championship. Can't make this up. It's 28-7 with 9 minutes and 44 seconds left in the game.
Yeah. Then Trujillo just decided to. Here's the crazy part about that game, right? I distinctly remember posting the video about this game before, and I said, the defense, if you do not stop number 1, we out of there. If you do not stop number 10, and then I think what really killed y'all, it wasn't even those two. It was the quarterback keeping it off the edge that game for real.
What killed us is like, man, you ever felt like you're standing on the train tracks and you see the train coming, and it's like you're in a dream, you can't get off the track. You see it coming, like you can't, there's nothing, we couldn't stop the bleeding. And everything that could go wrong in 9 minutes and 44 seconds went wrong.
Absolutely.
Fumble, interception, botch snap on a punt, give up a dang 3rd and 17 comeback. It never happened, but we were depleted. We were out of bodies. You know what I'm saying? And so, and so we went from playing in the state semis, against Brownsville Vets to watching Brownsville Vets and Smithson Valley play here at Buck Stadium the next week.
Bro, that was wild.
Yeah, so.
And then my last one before we get out of here, Coach, and thanks for your time, too.
No doubt.
Is how, y'all have...
talk about going into scheduling, the Sotos and getting those type of games. Because, like you say, I went to West Coast, so whenever they were they were going to state championships in basketball, 99, 2000, 2001. So I seen the difference of what local was versus seeing these teams from Houston, Dallas, and all that. So to see you scheduling these teams from these powerhouses to get these local kids ready, what goes into all that?
Man, for sure. So here's the deal. Sometimes when you're playing familiar faces, I'm not going to say they're not good because South Texas does play good brand of football. But the familiar faces, it becomes familiar, right? you got to get your kids outside of their comfort zone. So for me, and we didn't just start this. Like everybody was taught DeSoto, but we played El Campo years ago with that. Ruben Owens came and popped in both times.
Yeah, y'all did.
You know, we played Waco La Vega on that. They came down here. Them boys could ball. We had played LBJ, so we had already played some dudes. And so how the DeSoto game came about is like, you know, and this is not a knock on South Texas, but nobody won't play Miller. I don't care what narrative they try to say. If it ain't in district, they not playing us. And that's not to call nobody out. It just is what it is. You know, they're like, nah, we're not playing y'all. And so now I got to go up north to find games. You know what I'm saying? So there's 2 games. There's a game. I have to play the Vets game. You know, you have to play that game. It's a rivalry game. But other than that, like, you got to go find games. And so, man, I got hung up on because we free. Man, I had teams telling me we already got a game. I'm finding out they playing team from another country. I'm like, God dang, man, like what are we doing? Like we right up the road, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So people like, well, how did the DeSoto game run? So Mathis is my guy, the head coach. You know, we met 2 years ago when we played state 7-on-7 at College Station. We played DeSoto and almost popped him in 7-on-7. So me and him built this relationship, became a mentor of mine. I said, Mathis, I was like, you need a game, I need a game. I was like, man, how about we just get together? He says, Evans, if on realignment day, you can't find one, we can't find one, let's do it. I was like, bet. So we originally didn't have DeSoto scheduled. We had San Antonio Brennan scheduled. So, but what ended up happening was we had Brennan game week 3. Brennan ended up getting put in a 9-team district, which means they had 8 district ball games. So now week 3 was going to be a district game. So then we were scrambling. So I just called Clyde up and I was like, hey man, I need a game. He said, I can't find one. He said, let's do it. I said, we got to meet neutral site. That's because I got, we got a geographical boundary we can't go out of, you know, traveling in multi-school district. He says, how about we just go to San Antonio, we'll come to Alamo Dome. I said, bet, let's do it, right? So we did win all of them. So this year, it was like everybody, the game was at the Alamo Dome. Well, city of San Antonio went up on their fees, right? So I'm always thinking about South Texas, right? It's for me, it's about what can I do for our people here? You know, Booby Feaster, who's playing for DeSoto, he's gonna be playing on Sundays. Yeah. You know, how can I get USC. USC, okay. Yes, USC. I said, so how can I get that to Corpus? Because I'm always thinking about other people. And we always say this, Miller stands 10 toes down for the community. They don't always, the city of Corpus Christi don't always stand 10 toes down for us, man. It's kind of weird sometimes, weird energy. But anyway, I said, how can I get them to Corpus? So I called Clyde. I said, Clyde, here's the deal, man. They done went up on prices here. Like, our folks gonna have to go up there, pay $20 for a ticket, you know, $20 for parking, $100 at the concession stand,
Facts.
like, and whatever. I said, what if we help with y'all's travel and y'all come to Corpus? I said, he's like, bet. He said, I'm for it. Because week 1, they got to go to Georgia. They got to go when they flying up there. So that's already, so really him coming here, saving them money, right? But it's going to balance out because I know that gate going to be stupid here at the game. You know, the game going to be packed in. So, but anyway, but more so than anything, it was about bringing DeSoto here so that our community could see something of that level to see that there's a big brand of football played north of 37, but B, a lot of those guys that you're going to see from DeSoto, you're going to be able to see them guys playing. So here's the deal. That's why I said the DeSoto game, there ain't no live stream and ain't no passes. Like, invest in that game. You can spend $6 to $8 on a game to see that. Where else can you go for $6 to $8 to come watch somebody that them kids gonna possibly playing on Sundays? Now, don't get me wrong, we trying to win the football game. Like, there ain't no plea bargains with us. Like, we ain't trying to, like, we want to win the football game. But more so than anything, we get to bring that brand of football here to Corpus Christi so it can be a treat to our community. Nice. So that's what it's about.
Nice, absolutely. And then last one, in my opinion, that's one of the greatest quarterbacks to come out of South Texas in a generation, right? Yeah. So I guess my question would be, like, what would you say, like, the impact of, like, Andrew, Trevor, Lonnie's, like, what would you say those guys' impacts are? Because unique dudes like that.
Yeah. So when on Monday, first day we started practice, you know, we always have day 1 meetings, and I took the team inside of the film room, and when we met. I told him this. I said, raise your hand if you're a freshman. The freshmen raise their hand. I said, guys, I want you to understand something. I was like, the last time Miller lost, you guys were in kindergarten. It's like, you are the beneficiaries of something you didn't earn. I said, it's your responsibility to make sure you don't ever let it go back to where it used to be. So you have an obligation and responsibility to do that. So the people like Andrew Bodies who paved the way, you know what I'm saying, Austin Lavelle's, those kids, you know, it's tough. I start calling names, I'm missing Cassius Clays, all them guys were ballers, man. But they set the foundation. And I never forget the first year I came in here and I told that first class, I said, guys, I said, I hate to tell you this. I was like, you're not gonna reap the residuals of all the work that you put in. I was like, but the work and the foundation that you set, you're gonna pave the way for the classes and generations after you to benefit from the work from the seed that you sow.
Beautiful. So. Then how did you have the courage to say, I'm starting this freshman? Like, what was that conversation like?
Man, like it was, and so what's great. Well, here's the deal. You know, my thing is this: I've always been, you know, you just get that feel. And here's the deal: it wasn't a knock to the kid the kid that was playing quarterback had already thrown for 1,500 yards to 3 games. He had like 15 touchdowns. You know, but it was, you know, kind of turned on the ball a little bit, and so. Got to the 4th game, and so what was crazy was his body was just getting better and better every day at practice. I never forget, we rolled Body out in the Carroll game that first year, and his first snap out there, he dropped the snap. I said, get out. I was like, you know, first year quarterback, I said, get out. He's like, he gets him a quarterback, he says, go. Drops the ball, hit him right in the hands. I said, get out. You know, get out. But I never forget that 4th game of the season, we were playing GP, and no, it's 5th game of the season, we're playing GP. And he does some dippity doo-dah. I put him in the game because I need a change on. He spins out of some dips, almost falling down, throws a 50-yard bomb in the air, going out of bounds, and we catch it for a touchdown. Hey, that was it. That was all. That was it.
Anything y'all want to get out of Coach before we get up out of here? Man.
No doubt, man.
Well, gang, that's all the time that we got. We're going to be here in the season. We're going to definitely be live streaming for the crowd and all that good stuff. It's been your boy Lucky Lamar. It's been DJ Lil King on the 1s and 2s. And this right here has been the one and only, the legend, Coach Justen Evans. Go Bucks.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.